Perspective. Okay, this is the art of trying to make something look more realistic rather than just a basic flat drawing. So, in this unit, we're going to have some vocabulary. Linear perspective, it's what we actually use to create two-dimensional objects to make them look more three-dimensional. We're going to do this by using a horizon line and vanishing point and all of these perspective lines. We'll also talk a little bit about atmospheric perspective and 1-point and 2-point perspective. Okay, linear perspective, this is a technique used to create depth in two-dimensional artwork. So, old video games were really very boring because, well, they kind of looked like this. Now, if they look like this, they're probably not that much fun to play. Now, as gaming and computers got more advanced, we created more and more three-dimensional work, and this was all done by using perspective. This is a very old painting. This painting is The Last Supper, and it's one of the first paintings where they were trying to really push the view of being actually there. They wanted to really create this depth, this illusion that you were actually in the painting there at the supper. So they did this by creating perspective, and they did this by using a few techniques. One, they had to start with something that was known as the horizon line, and that's where the sky meets the ground. So we're going to put that in right now. Bam, there we go. And from there you could tell that that is where the sky meets the ground. It's a little hard to see in the background from those windows, but we can kind of tell, and there's a trick to it, and that's where you'll see some of these lines all coming in and hitting at one point. So this is a 1-point perspective, which means it only has one vanishing point, and the artist has deliberately placed it to where the focal point is. They want you to focus on this guy. Boom, right there. So the vanishing point, all these lines are going to meet there, or they're all going to project out there. That's also that vanishing point where everything eventually vanishes and disappears. So here we go. Boom. Oh, the power of Christ compels thee. The power of Christ compels thee. Woo! Okay, so we've got these perspective lines. They're shooting through here, and they're cutting through and going to that vanishing point. That's going to help create the illusion. As things get farther away, they're going to get smaller and eventually vanish. Okay, here's a great example. Photograph, real easy to tell. So we've got sky. We've got ground, which guess what? That's where it's all going to be, right in that area. Also, so that's the horizon line. On that horizon line, you're going to have your vanishing point. These lines are shooting back towards that place. They get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you can't see them anymore. So those are the things we're going to be noticing in some of these photos. Here's another great example. We've got these big braces going back for the ceiling, and we've got this great walkway, and this person's walking here, and way back in the far distance are some little teeny tiny people. These perspective lines are shooting back to that vanishing point, so the horizon line would probably be right around here. Okay, and this wonderful print by Currier and Ives, we've got all these lines shooting all over the place, which is insane to see. But if you follow some of these diagonal lines, they're going to take you back to one particular point, because this is 1-point perspective, only one vanishing point, goes right back to this area right here. So that's about where the sky meets the ground. Alright, in some paintings, they've also tried to create that illusion, like I said earlier, of you actually being there. But this one's a little hard to tell because we've got some ground, we've got some trees, but we really don't see any sky. But again, follow these perspective lines and you will see there's a little tiny one right there. There's a great one right there cruising along, and it would probably stop right around here. And this is going to give you that illusion of depth. That whole perspective is the depth, so that way it looks more realistic. And same with this painting right here. You can actually tell where there is a little bit of commotion going on here, but all these lines, if you drew a line right here, it would come right down almost in between these two guys. Boom, right there. But that definitely creates that illusion of depth, that perspective. Now, atmospheric perspective. This is what makes video games look really cool. When you're playing games and you like seeing stuff in the distance, it gets blurrier and sometimes it actually fades out into nothing, where it gets transparent or you can't really see the colors because they're all muted and they go away. So that's what you want to create. Here, notice how everything in the foreground is very clean and precise, and the colors are very vibrant and bright. And then as you get farther back here, the ground gets kind of muddy, and then this all kind of turns to white, almost transparent into like blurriness. 2-point perspective. Now, in 2-point perspective, this is where you have two vanishing points. You'll have one around here and one right around here. You're still going to have your horizon line, and that's where the sky meets the ground. So where the sky meets the ground, that's going to tell you that's that horizon line. Everything drops right on there. And on there, we're going to have our vanishing point. 1-point perspective was one vanishing point. 2-point perspective is two vanishing points. So there we go. Two vanishing points pop in right there. And that is where all diagonal lines are going to meet. Now try to figure out or think about having, on this street scene, we've got a corner right here. So we've got a left side and a right side. So notice how all the right side vanishing perspective lines are going to the vanishing point. They'll all be diagonal. And all of the left side, they're all going to the left vanishing point. And there we go. That's going to help you try to figure out where you're going to be putting your stuff. Now, this picture, great photograph to look at images. One, we've got our corner right here, and then we've got a diagonal line on the right side going to the right vanishing point, diagonal line on the left side going to the left vanishing point. So if we drew lines straight on this piece, they'd probably end out right over here and right around here. Same with this one. This one gets a little bit tricky though. When you see this basic box going over right side to the right side, left side to the left side, now look at this shape right here. This is actually another building, but it's behind this first building. And that middle line right there is going to be the dividing point for this building. So right side to the right vanishing point, which is way over here, and left side to the left vanishing point, which is over here. And another great drawing to show what you can do with perspective. So if you look at the videos in following this one, you'll see that there's some great examples of how to do some basic drawings.